In 2001, I had a Sega Dreamcast, until it was stolen. 1999 to 2001 was an insane 3 years for gaming in North America. First we got the Dreamcast in 99, the PS2 in 2000, the GameCube, and the first Xbox in 2001. These were the four horsemen of failing math class. Many kids picked one and made it their whole personality. It was like getting into a Hogwarts house, except the sorting hat was your wallet, because not all of these were priced the same. Most kids could only pick one, if at all, and a couple of kids were a multi-console household, but not in my area. Me though, I was an unemployed child, so I couldn't afford either one. Then something happened in 2001. The great house of Sega began collapsing. The Dreamcast failed, and Sega quit the hardware business. Sega getting out of the hardware business was a sad thing to watch. But one company's financial tragedy was another poor kid's blessing. I was able to scrape together enough cash to grab a used Dreamcast along with a few games. Me and the Dreamcast had an amazing honeymoon phase. And then next year, thanks to a couple of internet side hustles, some birthday cash, and a few dubious trades with other kids at school, I was able to expand my game family. I got a GameCube and a Game Boy Advance. And then at my peak happiness, tragedy struck. A friend broke into my house when I wasn't home and stole my Dreamcast along with my other consoles and games. To say I was sad was an understatement. For a long time, I was just angry. I still had my PC, but it felt like something was missing. Eventually, life went on. I started doing martial arts, I finished high school, barely, and I moved out of my parents' house and went to college. Today, that Dreamcast and little CRT TV I used to play on was almost 25 years ago. I haven't really played any games seriously since college. I told myself that all these games from the past, that was just some old kids shit, that it was time to move on. But this voice in my head has just been growing louder and louder. See, usually my brain is stuck living in the future. Like, yeah, we have cool stuff now, but I'm always thinking, imagine how great things could be. And now I'm starting to think that all the cool stuff was in the past, at least for me. No matter how hard I try to let go, something keeps pulling me back. There is just something about that era of hardware and physical media that will never be recreated. Last year, I went to Japan and I stepped into a retro shop in Tokyo's Electric City area. There, I got to hold a historical relic so valuable, I was surprised it wasn't behind bulletproof glass. A Sega Dreamcast. I was wildly hungover from a Tokyo pub crawl the night before, but I felt something. Like a combination of sadness and joy. I thought I moved on, but the fact that more than 2 decades later, I'm standing here in the shop trying not to cry while holding this console, I feel like that meant something. So a few weeks ago, I decided it's time to recreate my childhood gaming setup, even though I don't really have any money or space. Is it financially irresponsible? Maybe. Is it super cool to me and a shrinking millennial audience? Heck yes. So I'm gonna figure out where to get an old school cabinet, a Dreamcast, a couple of cool games, an old ass CRT TV to play on, and most of all, find the space in my 500 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment. And maybe the hardest part of this whole plan, convincing my wife this is a good idea. Hey dear, I want to build a retro gaming corner. Can we get an old cabinet and a CRT TV?
No.
Hey dear, I want to build a retro gaming corner. Can we get an old cabinet and a CRT TV?
Okay. Sounds fun. But the TV can't be bigger than 20 inches.
This is my living room, and you might notice a couple of strange things. First of all, there are multiple little gremlins here, none of which pay rent, do chores, or give a shit about retro games. Second, there's no TV, and that's mostly because there's no space. The cats have claimed a lot of the real estate with their cat wheel and cat tree. We do have a couch, it just faces nothing. And these are the desks where my wife and I work. It's a tiny place, but I think the best spot for a 90s nook would be right here. Right next to my desk where I can just swivel my chair and play games whenever I want. And because we currently don't have a TV, I feel like a retro TV would be a cozy contribution to this living room. The first thing I decided to do was get the Dreamcast itself. This was like the lead singer of the band. I started out on eBay, but I couldn't see or test the console itself, and the delivery fees and the import fees were not cheap. Plus a lot of these are Japanese units, which would mean they would be region locked. Next, I moved on to Facebook Marketplace, and thankfully, there were some people selling Dreamcasts. I don't know why they would be. I could owe money to the mob, and I still wouldn't sell my Dreamcast. I finally found one that said it was in working condition, so I made plans to pick it up. And last minute, the guy texted me, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, there's no cables for it, so there's no way to test it." And I was like, okay. I realized that if I'm gonna invest in this thing, I gotta do it right. I didn't want to buy just like a nostalgic paperweight. As cool as that would be to just have like a dead Dreamcast on my desk. Then I remembered there's a retro game shop not far from my house. This is A&C Games. It's a gathering place for people like me, ghosts from the past. This place feels like a war museum for World War II era tanks. I couldn't help but think, wow, at some point this was cutting edge tech, and now it's just behind some glass like an old revolver from the Wild West. I finally got the Dreamcast, and I rode home as if I was transporting a life-saving organ, which wasn't far from the truth. This console will keep me on this earth for at least another year. I have it on me. I have not looked at it yet. I sat with it on the streetcar, like using all the willpower I have not to pull it out and just study it. Holy shit, this is it. It's actually in really good condition. They only had 2 left at the store. One of them was like a pea yellow color, which I understand, it's an older console and it's been laying around. And this one is closer to the white I remember, like when I had it as a kid. Wow, this feels so weird to hold this right now. Holy shit. Like it just hasn't sunk in yet that I have a Dreamcast again. Is this real? Comes with all the cables, 2 controllers. As a kid, these obviously felt like magical, but now I can feel how cheap they are compared to like current gen controllers. Obviously, like the material science was just not as good back then, but when I like hold it, it feels really good. Yeah, they test it for you right there in front of you. The guy pulled out a Soul Calibur and started initially playing it, to test the controls, the system. And then it felt like he just got into it and he just kept playing. And I was just kind of standing there watching him play, and he was like just fighting another character. And I was like, can I get in on this? But I don't blame him. Yeah, let me recreate the shot from Japan. Next thing was the TV. I walked into this random shop a few weeks ago, and they had all these CRT TVs lined up like suspects. Like they weren't for sale, the shop was just flexing. And something about this Sony Trinitron just grabbed me. I thought about this TV all week, like it was a missed connection. I think it really was the seed for this whole project. I looked up how much one of these cost, and no joke, I thought I was seeing an extra 0. The guy back at the retro shop told me you basically would have to be brain damaged to pay more than $80 for an old TV.
If you really have to pay, I would say no more than $50.
And the whole time I just nodded along as if my brain was perfectly fine. Once flat screen TVs became more affordable, CRT TVs basically just became shitty old toasters. Now they're back in style, and they're the only things that give millennials any serotonin. Millennials are basically children trapped in the bodies of 30-something-year-olds, and they're the reason the cost of these TVs has skyrocketed. What used to be an old heavy shitbox left on the side of the road can now cost hundreds of dollars depending on the brand, the size, and how desperate you are. Finding a good CRT TV is not easy, and moving it is even harder, even with a friend. Like back in the day, you basically needed a crane to move one of these into your apartment. But they're the only way to experience old games the right way. Anything else is just a ghoulish imitation. I started messaging a couple of people for a TV and never heard back. At this point, I started to worry I would have nothing to hook this Dreamcast up to except my imagination. So throughout the week, I would look at more and more TVs and got progressively more bummed out. The only affordable ones I would see were gigantic, and who would want one of these in their house? My wife already agreed to all this, but she did not sign up to lug in a 37-inch ancient black box into her home. So she helped me look. Finally, she found something. It was a strangely written Kijiji post about a 20-inch Sony Trinitron. The Trinitron is like a legendary TV in the retro game community. Like these things were just made to last. If your family had one of these back in the day, odds are your dad did something mysterious and important, like the rich family from Home Alone. This specific TV was listed by an old guy in some tiny town 3 hours away. This guy ran a nostalgic vintage shop, but thankfully he offered to deliver it for 50 bucks. The catch is, this guy was old school. He would not accept an e-transfer or a bank draft. Like, he wanted me to go and deposit cash into his bank account. It felt like paying a hitman. Like, I had no clue if this TV even worked or if it was filled with rocks. I just trusted that the universe would make this happen. Okay, I have the Dreamcast and the TV's gonna be here next week. Now I need something to play. Realistically, I can't just get back my stolen game collection, but what I decided to do was get one game I loved and one game I always wanted but couldn't afford or find. The game I loved was Jet Set Radio, and if you played this back in the day, you know this was a work of art. It was one of the first games to use this cell shading technique, and just the overall style of the game, the music, the characters, the world, everything about it was crazy. The second game is Sonic Adventure 2. I never actually played this as a kid because I just couldn't find it, but I did play the fuck out of the free demo they had at Best Buy. So it was only right that adult me got to buy myself the game little me never had. Was adult me shocked at how much these games cost now? Yeah. Did adult me for a second think, you know what, fuck little me? Also yeah. Holy shit, why am I so nervous to hit the order button? I got it. It's on the way. It's packaged pretty well. Like, they do not want this to get damaged. Oh shit. Jet Set Radio. Jet Grind Radio in North America. This is in excellent condition. Now I'm just waiting for Sonic Adventure 2. Alright, the second game just got here. Sonic Adventure 2. This is also in really good condition, and the collection is complete. My collection of 2 Dreamcast games. Okay, I finally got the cabinet. After a couple of weeks and several failed cabinet negotiations, I finally found this cabinet on Facebook Marketplace. And I did not expect the cabinet part to take this long. I thought it was going to be one of the easier things to get. I know it's not technically from the 90s or the early 2000s, but it's got like an 80s vibe to it. It's in good condition, and it was affordable, so I officially decided it's good enough. I just want to hook all this shit up and play already. This thing's heavy as hell, man. Holy shit. The TV finally came in today. This thing is a monster. This isn't even one of the bigger ones. This is 20 inches. And this thing's in really good condition, like well taken care of. It belonged to this old guy's mom, and he's been preserving it, and then he drove it down here. Just seeing this thing brings back so many memories. Like, it's so great to watch old movies on, to play old games on. Anything bigger than this, I feel, would be just too jumbo for this little apartment. Like, where would you even set it down? Okay, now that I have everything, I'm gonna start putting together the whole setup. I'm just hoping this cabinet doesn't collapse from the weight. Okay, my interior design consultant just suggested I maybe put this TV on the other side and then I angle it. That way it looks nicer and there's less glare. So I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
If this doesn't work, the whole video is gonna look so silly. Okay, I'm gonna test out my first game. Sega! Sorry. That looks kind of sussy. It is taking some time to sink in, but every time I look at this corner, I do feel a little happier. I've been playing Jet Set Radio and Sonic Adventure 2 the last couple of days, and I gotta say this is the most dialed in I've been into a video game in many years. I know all this stuff's available on emulators and streaming services, but there's just something I love about physical media from that era. I own all this stuff 100%, there's no downloads, no patches, no firmware updates, and no microtransactions. Even a quarter of a century later, I push a button and all this stuff just works. It just turns on right away. I gotta be honest, I naturally had doubts about this project along the way. Like, I kept asking myself, am I just going backwards? And finally I decided, hell no. If anything, this feels like going inwards. I think over the last couple of decades, the world and my life has just moved so fast that I never had the chance to catch up on all these classic games that little me desperately wanted to play. And now I get to do that for myself while sharing it with you guys. Also, there's just something meditative about these older consoles and games. Like, they're way slower compared to modern games, but I just feel more calm after I play them. Okay, so what's next? This project made me realize I want to get back all the stolen consoles and games I had as a kid, along with rediscover the games that I just couldn't afford as a kid. So now I'm on a path to recover my GameCube and Game Boy Advance, as well as find those older consoles my friends had, like the PS1, PS2, and 64, and even the original chunky ass Xbox. So if you love nostalgic stuff and retro games, and you like this video, follow along. I might even try a modern game every once in a while if I'm feeling real crazy that day. Alright, see you next time.